Hello and welcome to the stream. Today I will analyze some hands that I played in a session that I played 2 days ago. So going over the most interesting hands and then also looking at some GTO solutions in the PLO trainer from the PLO mastermind and also Manka solver. So yeah, if you want to see some interesting hands, then this is for you. So as you can see, I lost $360 in this session, so not so great. But yeah, that's fine. So let's look into the hands. So I marked them out, and this is in chronological order. So the first interesting hand that I played is here, which is King, Queen, 10, 6 single suited. And I called against a regular who opened on the button, which is quite standard so far. And then I faced a small c-bet, and yeah, let's wait for a few people to come in the chat. Ivan and Gingonelli, the first ones. Cool. So now I have no delay, so we can interact a lot better now. So you can tell me what you would do in this spot. Would you call, would you fold, or would you raise? So I think this is quite interesting now. So we have a flush draw. We have 3 overcards, backdoor straight draws. But our flush draw is very bad, right? Okay. You would just call. So I will first show the hand. So I decided to check raise here, which is obviously very aggressive, but it's not GTO. I can show that later. No sense in bluff check raising in this spot. Actually, I like to bluff check raise a lot there in this spot because yeah, I think there's a lot of air in his range that will c-bet, and that has a very tough time defending against a small raise. I could even go smaller than $8 here. So I check raise the flop, but my hand is a little bit too weak. I would need to have a 9 blocker at least to check raise here. And then on the turn, we have the Queen of Spades, and we turn a double gut shot now with the Jack and the 7. So I decided to continue here for 15, and my opponent folded. So it worked out well this time, but let's look into the spot here in PLO Trainer. So first of all, pre-flop I can show that this is quite standard. So pre-flop, let's just quickly show the big blind solution here. King, Queen, 10 is calling almost always. I mean, sometimes 3-betting of course when it's very strong, but our hand was King, Queen, 10, 6 single suited. So this hand is almost, I mean, is always calling, basically, and it's a very clear call. So now let's look into the spot. So button versus big blind. The problem with check raising is that we could get denied our equity, I guess. You mean if he comes over the top, but then I mean, our equity is quite worthless because he has a deuce very often. So let's see if we have deuce here. We have 6 deuce, which is, I would say, somewhat similar. And if our opponent bets 1/3, we can look into that now. I mean, the main problem that I see is that we also run into like an overpair with a higher flush draw, and then we get flush over flush, and there's obviously some reverse implied pot odds, so we would have to call probably against a bet, and then yeah, we only have a bad flush, so that's not so great with this hand. So you see that we are raising 14.5%, so that's quite a lot. And if we exclude a deuce, X without a deuce and without sixes, so no trips or boat, then we raise 11%. And there are some value hands here that we see, ace, queen, queen, 6. But then we can scroll down here and see the more marginal ones. So 3, 4, 5, 6 is obviously a wrap and a flush draw, so that's also quite strong. But here we have the more thin combos, right? King 8, 7, 6. So only the 6 blocker and not even a heart. Or a gut shot, the 6 blocker and a heart. I mean, this makes a lot of sense. But yeah, the solver is more cautious when check raising here as a bluff. So he needs to have the 6, I think, as a blocker. And then also a gut shot would be great. So if we're raising as wide as I did, then we're too aggressive in that spot. So yeah, too aggressive here, but it worked out this time. And my assumption is also a little bit that people are c-betting a lot of air and not so much the aces and kings and calling them against a check raise, because at least for me that's quite uncomfortable when I sit here with kings in position and my opponent check raises me. So yeah, that's the first one. So I was a little bit too aggressive and I would just like to call there. So I can also show like my hand, king, queen, 10, 6 is actually a call. So you were right there that call is just best. King, queen, 10, 6 is, I mean, even without a flush draw is calling. But with a flush draw, I mean, I didn't have king, queen, 10, 6. I had a similar hand, but not the 6 blocker. King, queen, 10, 7 with hearts, let's say, is always calling, so it's not check raising. Okay, so that's the first hand. Let's look into the second one here. So I'm showing the hands of my opponents now. So we open raise ace, king, king, deuce, you can see that. Ace, king, king, deuce. Get called by the queen 9, 9, 8, which is supposed to be a fold. Get called by the 9, 7, 7, 5. And then we get squeezed. And yeah, this guy has a 3-bet statistic of 6% so far, so 7 out of 120 times. So what would you do here? I can go into the preflop sim right now. So we open MP, get called in the cutoff, get called in the small blind, and then we face a very big squeeze. So, would you call, fold, or raise? this hand. Ace, king, king, deuce. So of course, if he does not have aces, then we would want to go all in. But if he has aces, we are obviously in very bad shape equity-wise. So you would say just call, and I also called. And I will quickly show the rest of the hand. So I flop a gut shot, but that's basically nothing. So 4-way I have to be very cautious. Double suited we could 4-bet, single suited I would call, hoping the other two guys come along. But probably not GTO. So what would you think as GTO then? Do you think GTO would go all in? So I give up here on this flop. And yeah, just fold. And we don't know if this guy actually had aces or not. So let's look into the solution here. So ace, king, king, deuce. Maybe fold pre. I also thought about folding actually. And if he would not have been so aggressive pre-flop so far, I mean 6% is quite a bit of 3-betting. If he only had like 2% or 1%, then I would actually fold. But here we can see that ace, king, king, deuce with the nut suit is supposed to be a call in a GTO setting. And the expected value is also quite high. So we invested 3.5 and we win that back. So that's quite significant. And double suited would actually go all in. So we can also look at ace, king, king, double suited as a whole. And ace, king, king, double suited wants to go all in pretty much always. And ace, king, king, single suited wants to mostly call, especially with the nut suit. On the left we have the king high suits. Those are worse, of course. But the nut suit we want to call, even against a huge squeeze. But if he would not have been so aggressive, then I think folding is actually the best option. So yeah, here we lose. Let's go on to the next hand. This is a very interesting one. And yeah, so what do you think? Would you raise or fold here with queen 998 double suited? I mean, I think most of you would just open raise, and I also open raised. Otherwise the hand wouldn't be in here. And it's, I can show this, show EP, queen 998, so it's actually an open raise. We win 0.14 big blinds. So yeah, it's quite marginal, but there are definitely more marginal hands even. So let's continue with the hand. I open raise. Yeah, easy open. I mean, it's when there are a lot of players who will cold call and 3-bet you, then it's not so amazing in my opinion. But yeah, it's an open. Big blind calls, and we have ace 10-10. So what do you think, how often should we c-bet here with our entire range? Yeah, 19% from EP. 18.4%. So how often do you think we should c-bet with our entire range? And then also, should we c-bet with our hand? Spoiler alert, I did c-bet. So ace 10-10 is obviously great for our EP range because we have aces a lot and our opponent very rarely has aces. So we have a huge advantage there. And the 10 also hits our range quite well. You say 40% c-bet? Okay, that's interesting. So then you would probably not c-bet my hand, right? Because we don't have any relevant blockers or stuff like that. could remove us with the 998. That's right, but otherwise we don't have any equity, right? No gut shot, no nothing. So let's look into this. EP versus big blind. And I think we actually have that almost the exact same spot, ace jack jack instead of ace 10 10. And we can look into this, show EP. And I was actually surprised by this. So we are supposed to c-bet our entire range for 1/3 of the pot. And I did not think that it would be this high. I would have actually thought it would be like 80% or something. But yeah, we should c-bet our entire range. So I was really surprised by this. And this is actually true for most of the ace high boards. So if we look at some random board like ace queen 6, ace high again, and we face a check, then we should also c-bet 92% of the time. So I was really surprised by that, especially on the ace 10 10. I knew that we have a very high c-bet frequency on these ace high boards when we raise from early position, because we just have a huge range advantage in general. So let's go back to ace jack jack. And our hand, if we c-bet our entire range, obviously is a c-bet as well. So let's just use our hand here, queen 998 is a c-bet even without the flush draw. So I did find a good c-bet there. So let's continue here. I c-bet for 1/3 and then he calls. And now the queen of diamond hits on the turn. And he checks to us. So yeah, we now have the option to basically give up or to barrel and threaten to also barrel the river basically. So leverage our stack size and also leverage the fact that we have pocket aces and he does not have pocket aces. Yeah, I would think we would bet range in a 3-bet pot in this spot, but not in a single raise pot. In a 3-bet pot, yeah, for sure, like almost everyone knows that. But yeah, in a single raise pot, I mean, 19% is much wider than a 3-bet range, of course. So I was also surprised by this. So now on the turn, we have the queen blocker, right? And that's basically the only thing we have, really. Only the queen blocker. So should we use it or not? And I wasn't sure if this is a GTO thing or not, but I thought, well, from a human perspective, if he sits here in the big blind and calls my open raise, I c-bet the flop and then c-bet big on this turn. That's really, really, really scary, right? At least for me it would be, because I will just show him a lot of the time aces, right? So that's why I went for an exploitative bet in my eyes at this point. And also thought that he would fold a 10. Like if he has 10, jack, 8, 7. I think he would actually already fold here. If he has, let's say he floated with king, queen, jack with hearts. I think he will already start folding here on this turn if I go big. So yeah, I bet $10 and he folded. So very aggressive here by me. It worked out once again. So we actually can look at a turn here. Check, he calls, and then the queen of spade hits. Yeah, I think that's good. And he checks his range, of course. We can make him fold ace king, that's for sure, yeah. Ace jack. Hearts maybe can fold at this point. I mean, hearts is, yeah, almost worthless now. Don't know if he can fold a 10. So many calling stations at PLO 100. Yeah, that's the question, right? Then we can also look at his statistics. And we see that he folded to a flop c-bet 50%, which is normal. And then to a turn c-bet 0 out of 4 times, so that would be maybe an indication that we should not bluff. But in general, he also folded on the river 4 out of 5 times. So he's not a huge calling station, right? We know that. He's some kind of a regular. And in the solution, we see that we should bet only 32% of the time. And that is, I think, because on the flop, we already have we have a great spot range versus range, because he's in an extremely difficult spot with almost all of his hands. So therefore, I think he has to overfold on the flop a lot. And then on the turn, he ends up with a much stronger range. So we have to be very careful bluffing here. And I think that this makes also sense, because not many humans would start like bluffing now. At least that's my assumption. So Queen 998 is actually a barrel here without a heart. So barrel 66% of the time with the naked queen blocker and no equity, so we can easily also fold the hand, right? So I actually found here a GTO bluff barrel. But yeah, I think the things to take away here from this hand is that we can c-bet our entire range on the flop. And then on the turn we have to be very cautious, because he will have a lot of 10x. And yeah, against such a range we have to be quite careful. So I thought this was quite interesting. How does villain play a 10 on the flop? Can you check? Yeah, sure, I can do that. So in this case it would be a jack now, very similar. Check the solution, yeah. So he should raise only 6% of the time. And once again, I think that is because we have the absolute polarity advantage here. He actually does have some aces about 1% of the time. And those are raising. But a 10 without let's say ace 10 without aces. Even ace 10 is not really raising here. So a 10 is 10 without an ace is, yeah, basically never raising. It's always calling. Wait, sorry. I used the 10, but I have to use a jack here. So that was not very clever. So ace jack without aces is also not really raising here. And a jack without an ace is also not raising. So I think a jack is pretty much always calling, and I mean, I think most players would also simplify this to calling just the entire range that wants to continue. So not having a raising range here is like perfectly fine, I think. So jack obviously never folding, yeah. And that's also, I think, how a lot of humans would play the spot. So next hand we face an open from the button, and he has king 9 6 5, and we are in the big blind and we face an open that is only 2.5x. So against a full pot size open raise I would fold here, but against the short, I mean the small open raise, I'm calling. And now we flop 2 pair. We obviously check to him and he bets this sizing. I think I have an easy call here on the flop. Nothing really else going on. And on the turn I have an easy check and he checks back. And I think his decision here is very interesting, because first of all, it's not a c-bet on the flop. Let me just show you this. So pre-flop it's very, very close, but it's an open. King 9 6 5. With the king high suit is a very marginal open on the button, so that's fine. But then let's see if we have ace 9-6, 100 big blind, single raise pot, button versus big blind. Ace 9-6 with a flush draw. What's this? Yeah. So ace 9-6 with a flush draw. Show button. And bottom two is almost always checking back here. That's also quite interesting. I mean, that's just, bottom two is basically a middle strong hand that doesn't want to build the pot. So 9-6 without any backup. So king 9-6-5, for example, without two spades is just a check back. So he should not see bet his hand. But a few combos are actually betting, and we can look into this on the turn. So if the 7 of spade comes, so we should not really lead here, 12% leading, so we can disregard that. And then, well, I think if I was on the turn, I would have also checked in his shoes. But I think going for a bet is really, really great here for him. Because if you think about it, I called a flop bet. So the flush got there, straights got there, and I can still have a set or higher two pair than him. So if he bets, he gets better two pair to fold. He gets some straights to fold. And that's a huge advantage, right? And then he can also maybe bluff on the river. So his hand is actually supposed to bet for full pot here. King 9-6-5 without spades. With the spade blocker is always betting full pot here. Without, yeah, is betting full pot basically always. And this I thought was very interesting because he has like showdown value, but he doesn't really have showdown value, right? And if you look into the reaction by the big blind, he actually has to fold quite a lot. So we can look into the strength buckets here. So a flush should never fold, of course. A flush is always going to call. But a straight is folding 48% of the time, GTO. So he gets actually a straight to fold here with his bad two pair. And then a set is also going to fold 18% of the time. And two pair, which is a lot of the range. So this number here, 35.70, is the amount of the time that the big blind has two pair. So what I actually had here. And this has to fold 82% of the time. So this is actually a very, yeah. I think this is an example of a spot where you have to turn showdown value into a bluff, which is something not many players do. And he also didn't do it. So yeah, very interesting here in my opinion. And now I have a decision here on the river. And I'm not quite sure what to do. So I can either check, looking to check raise, or I could bet myself. Those are the options here in my opinion. I mean, sometimes he also has a better hand than me, of course. But yeah, here in this spot you can also write in the chat what you would do here, because I didn't really know what to do. So a flush, if he has a low flush, like a 10 high flush, then I miss value by checking because he will just check back. If he has a hand like 10-8 the straight, he might call a bet, but that's actually rather unlikely that he calls that hand. And then I can also try to let him bluff maybe. So that's also the advantage of a check. You would lead for half pot, so you would want to get called by a low flush or a straight with this bet, right? And I think that's very I mean, that's reasonable, because a lot of the big advantage of checking here would be that he also turns some hands into a bluff. And that's the question how much or how often that happens. So I decided to check here, which I'm not so sure about. And he had quite a bad boat and went for a min bet. So he's not a professional player. And I raised full pot and got called. But yeah, probably leading here for half pot is good actually, to get just value, and yeah, I think that's better. Now this time it worked out. Let's go on to the next one. And I didn't even show the conclusion of this hand, so he folds, or maybe I did. Anyway, let's go to this one. So here, the middle position player open raises, and I only have 3. But he has so many ace-x, he can just check back, even some straights, so I would not check. Yeah, I think that's really good. I mean, an ace can actually turn itself into a bluff, in my opinion. I mean, as we saw on the turn, even 2 pair is bluffing there on the turn. So an ace can definitely bluff on the river still, trying to represent the full house, trying to get me off a flush or straight. That would actually be very reasonable in my opinion. But not many players are doing that, that's the point. So I think actually being like more honest and straightforward and just value betting is the right thing there. So we have a recreational player here who limps in, and I go for the ISO raise. Big blind calls, and the other player also calls, and they check to me. Now, what would you do here against a recreational player and a good regular? What would you do? So we have an overpair, an open-ended straight draw, and a backdoor flush draw. So we have quite a lot of things going for us. Yeah, but that's a super high level to turn an ace into a bluff on that river. Yeah, I agree. But if you think about it, which hands like call a flop bet that is not a flush draw, not a straight draw, not 2 pair? So you have basically almost no showdown value with an ace. But yeah, not many players are doing that. So should we c-bet here with king 5 deuce or not? The big disadvantage of betting here is that we could get check raised, and then we are in a very nasty spot and probably have to fold. So what is your game plan here? Do you want to go for thin value bets like this, or you would bet half pot? Okay. I check back, but that's actually wrong. So let's quickly play out the hand. I mean, the flush completes on the turn, and I have no business here, and then he bets, and I have actually a straight and decide to just fold, and the other guy calls with a set and loses against the flush. But let's look into the flop, and I actually want to do a quiz there because I'm not very good in these multi-way pots. So we use, cutoff versus button versus big blind. So it's 9-4-3 would be the. Do we have 9-4-3? 9-4. 9-5-4. Nine 4-3 or 9-5-4? Let's go with 9-5-4, why not? So if they both check to me, so that's a little bit of a different spot now though. So cut off open raises and I call on the button. And then the big blind also calls. So it's a little bit of a different situation, but I think the flop decision, whether we want to bet or not, is still quite interesting. So that's now the hand class that I had. So king, king, 6-3 with open-ended to the nuts on the deuce, and with the 7, 6-8 would be the highest trade. So this hand is betting half pot 64% of the time. So betting half pot is correct. And what I was interested in here is how do we proceed against a check raise. So let's say this guy raises here and he folds. What should we do here with king, king, 6-3? And the answer is that we should not fold this hand. So we should continue with our backdoor flush draw. And okay, so you say the only thing we need to protect from is clubs. We have open ender and king king, not really afraid of getting check raised there. Only 9-9 or nut flush with wheel wraps can check raise, I think. Okay. Why do you think like a set of 4s or a set of 3s can not check raise here? Or even a hand like 9-4, king queen 9-4 or something. Such a hand could also check raise, right? Especially if it has clubs to go along, or if he has, I mean, the nut flush with a pair blocker and a gut shot can also start going for a check raise already, if he's an aggressive player. So, but what will not happen, I think, is the very marginal check raise bluffs that GTO will show up with. But yeah, and then what I'm also interested in, would you call a check raise or would you then fold against the check raise? So in this scenario, if he would be to check raise, he would actually fold 18% of the time against a re-raise. So those hands are the pure bluffs, so to speak. But yeah, I think our hand is just strong enough in a GTO setting. But what's interesting is that, I mean, we don't have a club blocker here, right? If I would have on the flop a club blocker, then I would block the, you would continue. Yeah, I think that's, I don't like that spot to get check raise there and then call. But yeah, I think it's actually okay to do so. So if I had a club, then I would have c-bet here, but so king king 6-3 without a spade in this case. I mean, we can only c-bet if we have the backdoor flush draw, so that's quite important here. Without the backdoor flush draw, we have to check back because we would suffer too much from getting check raised. So it's actually quite close here. So only with the backdoor flush draw we can bet. So let's go into a quiz here. I mean, the other guy, he was playing he was playing 67-33. So a fish like that can definitely have some random garbage hand that includes 3-3 or 4-4. But yeah, let's make a quiz here because I'm quite unsure how this should be played. And the obvious hands I will just bet here. So top set is of course going to bet. Queen queen 10-6 with a flush draw. What do you think? Should we bet here or not? And I think, yeah, the answer is quite clear here. but I will still wait for an answer. Yeah, bet I think is correct. So this hand is just too strong to check back. And here, this is actually a hand that I'm very unsure of. So we have a gut shot with the 3 and the nut flush draw. But if we get check raised, we're in a really bad spot, right? So what do you think? Should we bet this hand or not? And we also don't have a pair blocker. Yeah, over pair with flush draw, we can also look into that. So queens with spades. Queens with spades is, yeah, you think so. So queens with spades is actually checking back 45% of the time. So not at all of them are betting. With diamonds, I think then, yeah, all of them are betting with the backdoor flush draw. But without the backdoor flush draw, we have to be a little bit more cautious. And kings are also checking back. So you would actually bet here. And I don't know, I would go for a check back in game. So I would also check here. But that's wrong. So I would be too cautious here. We can also look into the nut flushes here. Spades with ace of spades. Let's say without a pair in our hand and without a 9, a 5 or a 4. So that's like any nut flush draw that doesn't have a pair. So 25% of them are checking back. And with Queen Jack Deuce. So Ace Queen Jack Deuce is betting almost always, but some other combos are checking back. I mean, I do have a gut shot, right? So with the deuce we have a gut shot, so those hands are betting even more often. Yeah, we have the gut shot as well, that's right. So yeah, I'm probably just a little bit too nitty here. And we should just bet most of them. But if we do not have a gut shot, then I think we should check back here. Because then our hand gets too bad. So all the high cards here like ace, king, 10, 8, ace, king, queen, jack, ace, queen, 10, 8. These hands are actually checking back. Okay, so more aggressive with the nut flush draw here. So queen, queen, 10, 3. What do you think about this hand? I am quite sure what the right thing here is, but I don't know exactly. Yeah, I think checking is correct. Yeah. Ace, queen, 8, 7. So we have a gut shot, a backdoor nut flush draw, and the 7 of spades. So what would you do with this hand? And I think I know what I would do. So I don't think the value of checking back or the EV that's a difficult one, huh? Yeah. I also think we want to bet here because, yeah, nice blockers, and I don't think the EV of a check back is that high, so I would assume it's a bet. And it's actually a check. Yeah, it's very easy to be wrong here. So ace queen 8-7 without spades. Is checking back always, with and without the backdoor flush draw. So that's actually too bad here to bet this hand. That would be too thin. Well, interesting. So king 10-7, another. I mean, I think I know what we should do here, but not quite sure. So we have the king of spades, of course, but nothing else really going on for our hand. So let's just go with a check here. That's right, okay, good. Jack 10-8-7. We once again have a gut shot, but we don't even have a spade. And if ace queen 8-7, I think the king of spades likes to bet in these spots. Yeah, but I think it's not enough here. I mean, the king of spades is obviously a very, very relevant blocker. So if we had the king 10-9 with the king of spades, then we should bet. So we also have the 9 blocker. Or if we have the 5 blocker, then we're also betting this hand. Let's see what a 6 would do here. A 6 would check back. So we need the pair blocker here with our king of spades in addition. So Jack 10-8-7, quite sure this is a check back now. Yeah, okay. Jack 10-8-7, very, very similar to the ace queen 8-7. So this probably is also a check back. Okay, good. So the naked gut shot, I think, is quite often a check back. Ace king 10-4, we talked about that. We have a pair blocker and the king of spades. I think this hand wants to bet. But in the other case, we had pocket kings with the king of spades. So what do you think of this one? Do we want to bet here? And I'm actually very unsure. I think I want to bet this one, but I really don't know. Could just be also too weak to bet here. I mean, our hand is too weak. Let's just bet it. Okay, it's correct. So the king of spades in addition with the 4 of hearts is good enough to actually start bluffing here. King 8-7 with 3 spades. Here I'm very sure you would just check the ace king 10-4. Yeah, I think that's what most players would actually do, me included, most of the time. Big boss, you're saying bet a 9 or a 5, but with a 4 I think it's a check. Yeah, I was really unsure here. We can improve to 2 pair, that's right. So let's look actually into ace king 10-5 with a spade without spades. So this hand is of course also betting, and ace king 10-9 is also betting most of the time. So yeah, the 4 is apparently enough to be betting here, but I'm also, yeah, I was very unsure. So let's move on to the next one. King 8-7 with 3 spades. Now there's a pattern here that 3 spades in position wants to bet much more often than 2 spades, because we have more fold equity and the EV of the check goes down. And also our hand is very strong here with an overpair, flush draw, gut shot, so just a value bet, I would say. Okay, now we have aces and a 3 high flush draw and a wrap. So what do you think about this hand? I think the solver is like a woman on her periods. Horrible. Yeah, I mean, you never know what you get of it, right? It can go really aggressive or, yeah. So ace 3 deuce. I think this is strong enough to bet, but the low flush draw wants to check back quite frequently. So let's just go with a bet here. That's correct. Okay, good. King 10 9 8. I think we saw this hand already. I guess it will c-bet with the 9 blocker and the 8 of spades. Should be good enough. Okay. King Jack 10 8. Yeah, everybody would bet this. Yeah, you're right. Big boss, you say bet fold. Which hand you mean bet fold? The ace king 10 4? The ace 3 deuce. No. You cannot bet fold this hand. This has way too much equity. I mean, if you think about it, if our opponent has a set of 9s, then we, I think, are coin flipping or maybe a head. So let's just check this in the Equilab here. So if we type in here our hand, so ace of diamonds, ace of clubs, 3 of spades, deuce of spades. Yeah, and if we give our opponent just a random set of 9s here, just to illustrate the point, and the flop is 9 of spades, 5 of spades, 4 of diamonds, then we have 48% against top set, so we can definitely never fold this hand against a raise. It's just an extremely strong hand here overall. Of course, if we run into this set with a higher flush draw, then we're fucked. But this will happen very infrequently. So we have just way too much equity here. King Jack 10 8. We have the king of spades, but nothing other than that. So I think we check back, and it's actually wrong. King Jack 10 8 wants to go for a very thin bet. King Jack 10 8 with the spade. Yeah, very interesting that wants to bet. But with the king of spades, yeah, it's apparently good enough to bet. Very interesting. Queen 9 8 8. I think very clear bet here. We have the 9 blocker, we have the 8 of spades, and we don't benefit a lot from checking back, so yeah, we want to bet this one. Top set once again, we want to bet. Ace Queen 8 6. We had Ace Queen 8 7, so Ace Queen 8 6 will also be a check with the naked gut shot. Yeah, okay, that's good. Queen Queen 3 deuce. That's actually interesting. That reminds me of, is there a legend for the PLO trainer syntax? Maybe. I don't think I know all of them, but mostly. Why do you ask? So, Queen Queen 3 deuce, we had we started this quiz because we had the King King 6-3, right? And Queen Queen 3 deuce is at least somewhat similar. But I would say that this hand is even weaker, right, than the King King 6-3, so I would check back this one now. Yeah. And this time it's correct, so we want to check this one back. Ace Queen Jack 7. This should be too weak to bet, right? Yeah, okay, that's correct. Ace King Queen 3, once again we have 3 spades. Because I got like a month ago and I'm having some trouble putting in hands. Yeah, so just to give you, yeah, I mean, you have like, if you go for example, ace and then this dollar symbol, then you can go double suited. Then you have any ace that's double suited. And then you can go so single suited, so SS would be single suited, then you have the single suited hands, or trip suit. And then you can go like with a 9, that would be the double point, and the exclamation mark is without a 9, so then you have all the hands that don't include a 9. And yeah, like with an ace with a pair, this would be all aces with a pair, so ace king 5-5, ace queen 9-9, and then you could also go aces without a pair, so RR is a pair. That's like the most important ones in my opinion. But yeah, you have to look into the mastermind or ask in the forum there, maybe they can help you. So ace king queen 3 with 3 spades, I think it's a very clear bet. Yeah, the dollar symbol, you need to do that. Ace king queen 3, I'm very sure it's a bet. Okay, good. I will now go a little bit faster. So 5, 6, 7, 9. Top 2 open-ended should be a bet, value bet. King Jack 10, 9. I don't think we want to bet this hand. We can make all the valuable top 2 pairs, and if we get check raised then we have to fold, so check back. We could also just bet with our pair of 9s blocker, but it's a check back, okay. Jack Jack 9-8, we block the 9, we have a spade, so I would say we want to bet here. Okay, good. 10-9, 8-6, just a value bet. Yeah, that's good. Jack 9, 8-8. With 3 spades nut flush, we bet about 80%. Can that be true? So ace of spades with 3 spades is betting 97%. So pretty much always. Jack 9, 8-8, very clear bet. Ace 7, 4-4, we have a set and the nut flush draw, obviously a bet. Ace King Queen 6. I'm not sure about this one, to be honest. We don't have a pair blocker. We have the 6, which blocks 6, 7. But I think we want to check back because it's medium strength. We don't want to build the pot against the nut flush draw, so checking back. No, that's wrong. We can actually start building a pot there. Ace, King, Queen, 6 with spades, not the ace of spades. It's just a pure bet, okay. What about the 7? Still a pure bet. What about the 8? Now it becomes less clear, and with a 10. Okay. So yeah, it's just a bet. We can be more aggressive there in this spot. Yeah, the 6 blocker likes to bet, yeah. Because we can also use that to bluff on like a 3 or a 7, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit too passive in this spot. So King Queen Jack 9, very similar to the King Jack 10 9. So I think this also check back. Good. Ace King 3 deuce, extremely bad rep. Very, very sure we check this back. I hope this is right. This. Yeah, Silver loves to bet flush draws with straight blockers. Yeah, seems like it. Ace King 7 5, we have the 5 blocker, we have a spade. This should be a bet, right? Okay, good. Queen 10 10 7, check back. 4 5 7 7, so we have bottom 2, 7 high flush draw, and a backdoor flush draw. What do you think about this one? And let's do 5 more hands and then go on to the next spot. So, yeah. Let's first see what you answer in the chat. So bottom 2, bad flush draw, and an additional backdoor flush draw. You think it's a bet? I actually think it's a check back, because we have a very bad flush draw and we're also dominated against the higher 2 pairs, but yeah, maybe it's just a bet. Yeah, it's just a bet. And the V difference is also quite big. So yeah, it's just strong enough to bet here. 7 7 5 4 with spades without diamonds and no diamonds. Okay, it's still betting, even without the backdoor flush draw. So yeah, once again, too passive here in this spot. 10 9 8 7 should be a check. Okay, good. King 10 10 8, not good enough, I think. Okay, so let's do 2 more hands now. 4 5 6 8 should also be a bet now. If 4 5 7 7 is a bet, this also has to be a bet. And this is the naked open-ended straight draw now. This one I would check back. Okay. So we had an accuracy of 86%. I think that's fine. But overall, the 7 7 5 4 is a bet. The Ace King Queen 6 is a bet. And the King Jack 10 8 is also a bet. So we missed some very thin bets. And then the nut gut shot here is a check back actually. And Ace Queen Jack 2 is of course also a bet, we know now. So good. Let's go over another spot now. And I have to leave in like 30 minutes. So I won't be able to go over all of the hands. This is not too interesting. So here I have Ace King 8 8 double suited. We face a call, another call, and then a squeeze. Yeah, the King Jack 10 8 is just, yeah, very, very thin. I don't think it's a big deal if you don't bet this hand. So here, Ace King 8 8. What would you do in game here? So we open raise, face 2 callers, and then a big squeeze. And this guy has a 3-bet percentage of 7.5. So he's quite aggressive pre-flop. Yeah, sometimes the solver makes these bets that seem very, very spewy. But yeah, I think you also need them to have bluffs on a lot of runouts. But yeah, it's obviously like very low EV also to bet this hand. So ace king 8 double suited. I decided to call here, and everyone else calls as well, and we flop the nut flush draw. And here I bet very small, $20. I could also just go all in. I don't think it matters a lot. Maybe even potting is just easier. I mean, it doesn't matter a lot. I wanted to keep the very low flush draws in, but he calls them probably anyway, so yeah, I have the nut flush draw, I bet. The money goes in, and we are up against bottom set. And we cannot get there, so we lose our stack here. You would 4-bet versus aggressive 3-better. Okay. But don't we also benefit from keeping the other hands in the pot because our hand is so nutted? We have the nut flush draw, also the king high flush draw is good in most cases. And our set is also good, so I think keeping the other players in is actually the better play. And a hand with a pair doesn't usually want to 4-bet GTO wise. Vor allem gegen Deep Insidor. Ja, den kenne ich jetzt noch nicht so gut. Scheint auf jeden Fall sehr aggressiv zu sein, Preflop. You want to play heads up and position against him? Yeah, but the position is not really worth so much because you will basically be all in here. I don't know. I think keeping the other players in is better. So let's look into the solution here. Fold, call, and then a squeeze. Let's see what we should do GTO wise. So ace king 8-8 is a call. And ace king 8-7 is also a call. So yeah, I think calling here with such a nutted hand and trying to get the other players along is the correct thing. And you have to see that GTO ranges are even stronger than these ranges here in play. I mean, not necessarily, but most likely. So it's even better to keep them in the hand. That's my opinion here. But yeah, big pot, we lose it, unfortunately. So the next spot we face a raise once again by, no, not the same guy, it's another one. So we face a raise, easy call here. Okay, exploitive wise. That's possible, but then I would more like to adjust and go all in with something like ace king king that we should only call, ace king king single suited, or something like ace queen queen maybe. I think these hands make more sense to go over the top. So now here we face a c-bet, and yeah, what should we do here with our middle set? Would you raise or would you call? So let's go into this. So we have the King Jack 6 two-toned. He just loves squeezing multi-way. I have that noted on him, and he never disappoints. Yeah. it's good to take such a note for sure. So King Jack 6, let's say we face a c-bet. Come on. So Jacks is actually calling most of the time. Let's exclude the flush draw. So the naked middle sets, they just call. So yeah, I would say we have quite a clear call here, even though I think many players would raise, but I also called. And then on the turn, he checks to me, and I think this is a mistake by him. I think he should continue to barrel here on the turn. He was probably afraid of the nut straight, but that's not really a reason to slow down here. He gets so much value from a set, from all the flush draws that are out there. And I think I also have a bet here with my middle set. And this is also actually what the solver would do. And then the king comes, and I went for a half pot value bet on the river. So, yeah, I won that hand. It's not extremely interesting, I think, so we just go to the next one. Ace Jack 4-3 double suited. Yeah, I overcall in the small blind against, yeah, fun players, or at least one fun player here on the button. And then on 6-4 deuce rainbow I could actually lead here, but I decided against it. And then on the turn, what do you think in such a spot? I make it bigger. Because I went for a bet here. You would bet a little bigger on the river for value. Yeah, I was a little bit scared that the straights would fold if I bet bigger, and that I only get called by the full houses that are still in there. And I have quite a bad full house. So with a better full house I would actually bet bigger, but with this one I was a little scared, to be honest. But yeah, I think GTO-wise we can also go bigger there. So Ace Jack 4-3, I decided to bet here 2/3, and this guy calls with a wrap, which is good, I think. And then I river 2 pair, and it goes check check. So yeah, I think I don't really like check calling on the turn, so I really prefer the option to lead out. And yeah, I think that's good. So let's go over the biggest hands here. Let's remove this tag. So the biggest hand that I won was this one, which was quite the spew by me, in my opinion. Come on. Yeah, I think I need to get a new computer. This is not working very smoothly. Come on, why is this not working? Poker Tracker doesn't want to show the biggest hand that I won. It's not a good sign. So I open raised Queen Queen Jack deuce, double suited, very standard obviously. Get 3-bet by the button, who has Ace King 8-6. He's, yeah, so far I would say quite an aggressive regular. And then this guy squeezes, and he has a 3-bet percentage of 32. And I think I should just fold here, because even against him it's not a great spot. So against one player it should be a call, I think. So I open raise, get 3-bet by the button. Let's say everyone folds. So Queen, Queen, Jack, Deuce is a call, but it's not a great call. Queen, Queen, 10 Deuce is also a call. Queen, Queen, 9 Deuce I don't even have. So it is a call, but once we face the 4-bet, it's, I mean, obviously GTO, a very clear fold. Let's look at this one. Queen, Queen, Jack, Deuce. And I would lose a lot of big blinds by calling or jamming here, GTO wise. Yeah, obviously he's super aggressive, 3-betting 1/3 of the time. So I decide to go all in, but I still think it's quite a big mistake because his range is also very strong. If he 3-bets against my early position range, he has a lot of aces. And he obviously has a bullshit range, but against aces I do very badly. So yeah, that's just a punt by me, and I got rewarded for it. The money goes in 3-way, and I make backdoor quads. But yeah, I think very badly played by me. For some reason I didn't even consider in-game that this guy also has a very strong range. So yeah, very poorly played by me. But yeah, sometimes you get rewarded for these hands. Ace, Ace, Jack, 8. Let's just look into the biggest hands here. So here I get 3-bet by a guy that I don't know so well. So Ace, 8, 6, 3 is not a 3-bet. Yeah, because of the button 3-bet we have to fold. Yeah, exactly. So Ace, 3, 6, 8. Even double suited is a fold. Let's look into how much he loses by 3-betting, and he loses quite a lot. So he actually loses an entire big blind by 3-betting this hand. That's just way too gappy, and yeah, it's very bad. No gamble, no future. I like that saying a lot. So we should obviously 4-bet, and then he should, I think, still fold against the 4-bet because it's almost always only aces. And he decides to call, and the flop is obviously great for him, but he does not get rewarded for his bad play this time, and I make a backdoor straight. So, okay, yeah. Let's keep this for the last one and look at. Oh, okay, yeah. This is. Yeah, I have to show those hands. So here, I open raised King King 7 4 double suited and got 3-bet by a recreational player with a 75 big blind stack. And I decided to call my King King 7 4, which is standard, I think. And then on 10 7 deuce, I check. He bets full pot. And I think I have a clear fold, because if he goes full pot, he almost always has aces, and I just have, yeah, Ace 8 7 6 is a 3-bet from the small blind, but that's a way stronger hand. Ace 8 7 6 double suited, yeah, that's extremely strong. Such a hand would actually 4-bet in most instances. So Ace 8 6 5 double suited is also a 3-bet. I would say Ace 8 6 5 is only a call here, but this would not be a big mistake to 3-bet here. This is almost the same EV. So Ace 8 6 5 is like the bottom of the range. Ace 8 6 4 is too weak. This hand we should already fold. But Ace 8 6 3 is like way too weak. So we have a very clear fold here in my opinion, because we just don't have the equity. I saw the 7, the 4, the king as outs and 2 backdoor flush draws and decided to go all in against maybe, yeah, a bad hand, but yeah, that's just a punt by me in my opinion. And I lose a big pot here. So here I decide to 3-bet 136 big blinds deep against a cut-off regular, this deep insta guy. And he calls and we go to this flop. And yeah, what do you think we should do here with our range and with our hand? So 100 big blinds. I don't know the deep stack theory here, but 100 big blinds we can bet full pot a lot here, because our overpairs, even our naked overpairs, are just strong enough to get the money in and to go full pot and end the hand basically. And this hand, I looked it up, is a hand that wants to go full pot, 100 big blinds deep, and just hopes for the in position player to fold. Yeah, King 7-4 is a check fold by the solver. I looked it up. So King Jack 8. So I had the 100 big blind solution in mind. The thing is, 150 big blinds, this changes a lot. So let's just quickly show this post flop. 3-bet pot, small blind versus cutoff. Do we have this? Yeah, nice. 9-5-4. So this is now 100 big blinds big deep, and we can see that 82% of the time we should bet full pot. And King Jack 8 double suited. If we have the 2 backdoor flush draws, it's a full pot. Otherwise we have to give up and check fold. So 100 big blinds, this would have been correct. So I have to change this to the button player to get the deep stacked solution. So that's now 150 big blinds deep. 9-5-4, rainbow, show small blind, and we can see that the strategy changes very extremely. We now have to check 77%, and 100 big blinds deep we only have to check 10%. So this is an extreme difference that I would never have thought of, that it's so big. Could you just check one spot? I would like to know if we have a leading range on turn with middle set on flop. So I would just end the hand here and then tell me in which hand, in the King 7-4 or in which hand. Maybe tell me the exact spot, then I will look it up after this one. So here we have to be extremely cautious, and King Jack 8 is just too weak. And so King Jack 8 would be a check here, and this is quite the big punt by me. So yeah, I would have to check here this deep, and I will now look into some more deep stacked theory or solutions. And then on the ace, I think we should bet our entire range here, and I decided to do it as well, to bet like 33 and then set up a river jam. I maybe could even go smaller here, like 23 maybe would be better, I think, in hindsight. Then I lose less against the jam, and now I have an easy fold. But yeah, also quite a punt by me. So let's look into the hand that you saying King 10-10-8 in the big blind versus MP open. Flop is ace 10-4. Two-toned. Okay. So 100 big blinds, single raised, MP versus big blind, you say. I don't think we have leads in this spot. So ace 10, let's use ace jack 3. So we check, and I mean a middle set will check raise quite a bit, but I don't think it's going to lead. That doesn't really make sense. I mean, middle set is sometimes check raising, but it's not really leading on the turn. So if you want to go aggressive, then you check raise the flop. So here we can look how sets are playing. Like the rare top set that we have is raising almost always, and then middle set is actually mostly calling, and bottom set sometimes raising. So if we call there and the turn is a blank, oops, it's not a complete blank. 8 of hearts, it's quite a blank. Then we have to check our entire range. They don't even have the option to bet here. So yeah, on a blank turn this doesn't make sense in this case at least, because the stack to pot ratio is still quite big. The polarity and range advantage is in the middle position, so this doesn't make sense. I hope I did the spot right. Big blind versus MP open. Yeah, we don't have a lead range here. And now the last hand that I will show you is again very spewy. So we have the ace 10 9 deuce, and we open raise, which is standard. You would argue we lead out to protect and for value. Yeah, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, you can check raise to protect your hand and to get value. That makes sense. But once you call, yeah. But there are cases where you, in other instances where you check call the flop with a dry overpair, for example, then hope for a blank turn and then you donk to get the money in. But this is another spot. So here, let's focus on this hand. Ace 10 9 deuce. I call the check raise. I mean the 3-bet. Turn play is just a big leak of mine. Honestly, I have to say, the closer it gets to the river for me, the less sure I am what to do. So yeah, I mean, turn and rivers are very difficult in my opinion. So ace 10 9 deuce, I call with the nut suit. This is also GTO. And the flop is 9 4 4. And my opponent c-bets for 1/3 of the pot. And I like to attack these kind of textures a lot with raises. So that's what I did here. My assumption was I have a 9 blocker. I have the 2 of clubs, which blocks some flush draws and also gives me equity. I mean, the deuce doesn't give me equity, but the 9 gives me equity, and I have a backdoor flush draw, so I decided to raise here. Calling is also completely fine. And I don't have this spot exactly in the solver, but I think he doesn't want to raise this spot a lot because the pocket fours are too low. If this would have been 10 6 6, then button wants to raise a lot more because he has more 6x in his range. And he calls. Now in his shoes, yeah, very thin to call here, but definitely not a mistake. And then on the deuce, I mean, I block the full houses, which is almost not relevant at all, but at least I have a 9 and a deuce as outs. So I decide to barrel here, and I don't block the high flush draws that can now fold potentially an overpair with a flush draw that is just scared of the trips or full house. And I bet 1/3 of the pot, which is fine, I think. I could go a little bit bigger, and I river the magical deuce. Great feeling if you runner into a full house in this kind of spot. And yeah, in his shoes, I would I fold on the turn? I mean, it's so nasty. But this is also why I like to do it, to put my opponents in a tough spot. But he doesn't like to get pushed around, so he decides to call it off. Yeah, I got really lucky here. But yeah, on this note, I want to end the stream today. And I will actually go live in the evening again. Probably at like 11 p.m. today. I will stream some live play. So yeah, if you like that, then tune in later that evening. And yeah, nice to see you in the chat, Timo. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to working with you again in these videos. But yeah, for now, have some fun in Barcelona. Yeah. Okay, so Gingonelli, it was great to have you in the chat. It was really cool to communicate with you. And yeah, hopefully see you later today. So yeah, have a good one.